Okay, so what's up, guys? We're going to be talking about the Transit crew on Black Ops 4 Zombies, the Victus crew's role on Blood of the Dead. What is going on with this crew on this map? What is their importance to this map? Are they going to be alive? Are they trapped there? Are they dead? They're probably not dead, but I do think there is some sort of significance of the Transit crew, especially on this map. Obviously, they're a part of the Easter egg, and they're a large part of what's going on there, but also just further development of their characters, of their storyline. I'm not saying that they're going to have a huge significance to the rest of the Ether storyline, the new timeline that we're in now, where obviously the cycle is broken from the Blood of the Dead Easter egg ending cutscene, obviously where I think you guys know now, the origins Richtofen sacrifices his blood, sacrifices his life, he dies, and that, in turn ends the cycle. You have the Primus Richtofen with the origins characters. They're moving through their goal, probably to defeat Dr. Monty. They say Dr. Monty's evil, so that's, we're assuming that's where they're going. But the Transit crew, it's like, what are they doing? What is their role? What is their purpose? And we really don't know what that is yet. We have different theories. We have a quote or two we can look at, and there's probably going to be different quotes that come up that relate to the Transit crew that, give us more evidence as to how they're going to move along the Ether storyline with the rest of the origins characters and Primus Richtofen throughout these next 4 zombie maps in Black Ops 4 Zombies. I do think, step aside with the storyline and stepping aside from Blood of the Dead itself, I think as much as it's a meme, I think you guys know too, we're gonna see Transit remastered. We're gonna see a Zombies Chronicles 2.0. We're gonna see the rest of these maps remastered, Call of the Dead, Transit, Die Rise, and stuff like that, where maybe or at least most likely, I think we would play as those characters, the Transit crew, the Victus crew, on those maps. So how is that going to make sense? How are they going to develop the storyline? Are we going to be playing as the Transit crew in those maps, in the same timeline that we're in right now, where the cycle is broken? Or is it going to be something where we do a flashback, or they're going back in time, or they teleport here to there? I mean, who knows how they're going to do it? Who knows why we're going to be there? Obviously, if they're just remastering the maps for Zombies Chronicles, maybe they'll develop the Transit crew storyline just for some random, just side quest reason, just, sort of an off thing from the storyline. It doesn't really have to do with anything. It's just sort of something that they want to do, just to remaster the maps, just to have some storyline. But other than that, let's look at Blood of the Dead, and let's look at what we have right now as to what they're going to be doing and how they're going to get past Blood of the Dead, because right now we really don't know what their status is on Blood of the Dead. So I'm going to put a Reddit post up on screen. This is from 3 days ago, and this is actually pretty interesting because I didn't know, I guess I did know, but I didn't realize how important the quote was. So I'll leave a link down. I got this quote from Q9D's video, so I'll leave a link down to his video in the description below, so check that out. Let me read you the post here. It says, in Blood of the Dead, we hear Stuhlinger talking to Richtofen, Blood of the Dead Richtofen, and then he ends up dying in the end, obviously. So what happens to Stuhlinger in Richtofen's head? What is going on there? And it's actually pretty funny because you think like, okay, the Blood of the Dead Easter egg ends, the power shuts off, Richtofen sacrifices his blood, sacrifices his life, and that's pretty much it. But these Transit characters are still sort of frozen on this map. I mean, if you think about it logically, we really don't know what their status is. Once the power turns off on that map, once that Easter egg cutscene ends, there's no sort of souls there. The mobsters aren't there to go down and save the Transit crew, if that's a possibility. Like Weasel as the bird is gonna go down and save him like he did with Brutus, with the other characters, the origins characters. Like all these different possibilities, we're sort of losing chances to figure out, like, okay, how does the Transit crew get out of here? Are they alive? Even if they're not, alive, are they still frozen? Are they technically in this sort of, mid sort of neutral purgatory state? Are they dead because there's no power supplying the chambers in them to keep them frozen, to keep their bodies sort of, in that frozen state? Who knows what the deal is? But there's a quote on the map classified where Stuhlinger is talking to Richtofen, or at least attempting to talk to Richtofen, because again, like I said, Stuhlinger was supposed to be talking to Richtofen throughout the whole Blood of the Dead Easter egg, so that would make a lot more sense, and this probably would be an easier video if we had all of the quotes from the Stuhlinger talking to Richtofen Richtofen throughout this Easter egg. But on the classified map, you know, he pretty much goes through and he says, you know, like, Richtofen, where are you? Like, Richtofen's not responding to him. Richtofen obviously is a big part of Stuhlinger because he's in, you know, Richtofen's head. Stuhlinger, you know, pretty much has been talking to him the whole time, and now all of a sudden he's not responding. So is this, you know, pretty much right after the Blood of the Dead ending cutscene where Richtofen, you know, just sacrifices himself and Stuhlinger doesn't realize it, and maybe he doesn't know? Obviously, you know, I mean, I feel like if you were in someone's head and you were at that level, you would know. But let me play the quote and you'll hear, and then we'll talk about what that deal is there and what that means.
Richtofen! Hey, Richtofen! You've been gone from my head a really long time. I gotta be honest, I'm freaking out a bit, man. It's so quiet. I can actually hear myself think. Do you know what that's like? It's not nice at all. So, listen, buddy, old pal, we gotta talk. You sent us here, of all places, but you forgot to tell us what to do. It's dark, it's damp, it's just really filthy. I think the roaches are crawling with roaches. How is that even possible? Wait, shoot. Am I even talking to the right Richtofen? Oh, you could be the other one, right? Or the other one. Yeah, you know what? Just go talk to your Richtofen pals at the hoity-toity Ricky Gang Clubhouse and find out what the we're supposed to be doing.
So again, that's really interesting because that, you know, may actually mean that these characters are sort of alive, or at least Stuhlinger is conscious enough to start to worry about Richtofen and what's going on. But then he just goes through a bunch of different things with different Richtofens, and, you know, he doesn't really, obviously he doesn't understand as to what's going on. I mean, maybe he does. I don't really know their sort of knowledge of what's going on within this storyline, and what's, you know, why Richtofen, you know, actually had to, you know, break the cycle finally, and why he finally was, you know, not scared of death anymore. He finally just sacrificed his blood. Stuhlinger, he just, I don't know, he just seems a little clueless, I'm not gonna lie, but it does mean he's technically alive. I don't know if that means that his conscience is alive, his point of being within Richtofen's head, you know. It's a little weird because we really don't know about the other characters' status. Are they alive? Are they sort of just in their conscious form as well, in their sort of soul form, where they can talk and, you know, talking to these different people, but they're not actually sort of alive in human form? You know, this is another thing. How does, you know, Stuhlinger get from Richtofen's head? You know, how does this move forward? How do they move forward at all? Really, if you think about it, they have to go back to Blood of the Dead, if anything. If they want to get these transit characters moving forward in this storyline, something has to happen where these characters leave the chambers, escape Blood of the Dead. Someone has to bring their souls out of the game. Like I said again, the mobsters, you know, maybe would make sense to save these characters and save their souls and, you know, release them, and then they move on potentially to the other Origins characters. So you have all of these different Transit crew characters start talking to the characters we have now, the 3 Origins characters and the 1 Primus Richtofen. Another thing as well, how does Stuhlinger, you know, escape pretty much Richtofen's head, and when does he realize that, you know, Richtofen did this thing? We need to know, does Stuhlinger understand what is going on? Because he could be stuck in Richtofen's pretty much dead body in his head, talking to himself, not talking to Richtofen. Richtofen's not going to respond. He, you know, sacrificed his blood. He's gone. So that's that. And it's just like, what do you do at that point? How do you bring that character? How do you bring his soul, his conscience over to, you know, maybe another character? I think if you want to think about, you know, realistically, just an easy choice, Stuhlinger might start talking to Nikolai. Obviously, Nikolai, he has the Chronorium now. He was the only one, at least, I remember Blood of the Dead happened right after Zetsuba no Shima. So, you know, Garada Corvi didn't happen. Nikolai didn't, you know, sort of, you know, release his soul and capture his 1.0 self soul. So he's the only one that has that power. He has the Chronorium now. He's sort of like the driving force of this crew, it seems like. So maybe he'll start talking to him. Stuhlinger will start talking to Nikolai, and, you know, whatever happens with that will happen. But The process of how that occurs is still very much unknown, and really how they get out of the map. And if they want to, especially if we're talking about, obviously, for the storyline, let's say for another Ether map, whether it's DLC 1, 2, 3, or 4, you know, how they get their souls, how you get these characters to start talking to the Origins crew and Primus Richtofen, who knows? But now, if you think about the larger issue, really, how do you get them to actually, how do you get their bodies out, especially if we're gonna play as them within Zombies Chronicles? And if anything, if their bodies are stuck on Blood of the Dead, and this is the end, and this is their final destination, they can't escape Blood of the Dead, just because of the simple fact that they're trapped there, or they're dead, and, you know, they can't be frozen anymore, or whatever the case is. Obviously, Zombies Chronicles 2.0, where you're playing as the Transit crew on these older maps, would probably have to be just back in time, or just some other alternate dimension, not in the new timeline, not in the same timeline as the other characters. Obviously, you know, after Blood of the Dead, and they're going to fight Dr. Monty, whatever their goals are, whatever their, you know, main sort of task is, it's not going to be in that timeline, it would be in something else, because obviously in that timeline, in the current timeline, these characters are stuck on Blood of the Dead, and it will be no logical way for them just to all of a sudden appear on Transit Remastered, you know, Die Rise Remastered, and stuff like that. So that makes sense there. But it really, we just don't know how exactly they're going to get out of Blood of the Dead, and just really the implications of that. So again, we'll probably get more information soon, and we'll see. This is just like general stuff. The quote does sort of help, and the quote does give us an understanding that, you know, Stuhlinger doesn't realize that Richtofen sacrificed himself, and he's talking to himself, and they're still sort of alive. At least Stuhlinger's conscience, you know, he's so sort of there on Blood of the Dead, so their bodies aren't completely gone. Maybe, you know, maybe they are. Maybe their conscience is there, but their bodies are gone. You never know. So could be that as well. But we'll see what the deal is. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy, and let me know what you guys think about the Transit crew. What's gonna happen to them after Blood of the Dead, or in Blood of the Dead? You know, how do they escape? What's their deal? So leave a comment below. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.